3, 2, 1, and go! Hello my friends, Danny here today in the indoor studio. Today I'm going to explain to you what FTP is, and the title is no clickbait. I'm gonna explain to you when FTP is a rubbish, and I want to tell you about FTP from that perspective, because we very often focus on FTP not gaining the performance that we really need for our racing. So this episode is for everybody who's starting training and they think this is it, they want it. I'm gonna explain to you what FTP is and how little information you actually get about yourself from the FTP. This will be both for cyclists and mountain bikers. I am mostly, I consider myself mostly a mountain biker, XC cross country, some enduro this year, finally. But also I train a lot on the road, on a road racing bike. This is the Merida Mission CX cyclocross bike I'm doing this test on. But there is so many interesting thoughts. So number one, what FTP is. This is one of the ways of measuring your fitness level, and FTP stands for Functional Threshold Power. Functional meaning how do you actually function on the road, how it actually works out for you when you're sitting on the bike doing the work, and functional threshold power or functional threshold heart rate, HR, for your heartbeats, tells you how long, how much power can you put out into the pedals for 1 hour, for 60 minutes. So if you can ride 200 watts over 60 minutes, that's your FTP, 200 watts. If you can do 285 watts for 1 hour for 60 minutes, that's your FTP. What actually FTP is, this is the way of measuring your aerobic engine, not anaerobic, your aerobic engine, your ability to ride long and do sustained efforts. And this is why it's very often a rubbish for many of us, because I will give you some examples when my FTP drops down significantly and I am getting much better during the races. Alright? This is so in the first part I want to explain to all the newbies how do we measure FTP. You can see on the left corner 3 data types. There is a speed, which is just there for your information. You can see heart rate. It's right now 158 beats per minute, and you can also see my power at the bottom on the left. It's 230, 240, 250, 260, and so this is my power. You can measure your average power during 1 hour, and that would be your FTP. But we don't want to be testing it for that long. So you can do, for example, 20-minute test. You can also do 8-minute test, like 2 by 8 minutes. This is 20-minute test because this is more precise than 8-minute in my opinion. When I do 2 times 8-minute test, my FTP is always higher than from the 20 minutes. And why is it rubbish also? Because my 20 minutes test giving me the power results and the FTP is not what I can sustain for 1 hour. This is also important. So after a warm-up, let's say 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how much hours, how many miles you already have in your legs. If you're quite experienced, you can do a bit longer so that your muscles, your mitochondria, all the cells are prepared for that work. It's gonna be hurting you after, let's say, 6 minutes or so for the next 14 or 15 minutes. And then you go all out for 20 minutes, but I mean all out for 20 minutes. This is steady, very, very steady effort. From 20 minutes, you take your average power. In this case, it was low, guys. It was like 260 something, 5 or 4. And then you take 5% of that amount of watts. If you are going to measure your FTP power, functional threshold power, if you were to measure functional threshold heart rate, that would be a bit different, but you can use both metrics. So in this case, my FTP was 249 roughly. So let's say if you can have your average power for 20 minutes, that would be, let's say, 200 watts. You take 5% off. 10% off from 200 is 20, so 5% is 10. 200% minus 10, that's 190 watts. That would be your FTP. Let's say if I had 265 minus 10%, that would be roughly 13. So 265 minus 13 would be 252. So mine was lower because I remember it was 249. So 249 was my FTP. Number one problem with the FTP is that you will almost never be able to write for 1 hour the amount of watts you measured during your test. So my 20 minutes power minus 5% is not my 60 minutes power. The more experienced you are, the closer you will get during that 1 hour ride to your FTP, measured FTP, but I don't think many riders will be able to do that. That's thing number one. Number two, you are doing a sustained effort here. As you can see, I'm just trying to push my watts very, very, very in the very sustained way. The problem is a lot of headwind. Very interesting thought about headwind and other factors in the second. So you can see my power is changing a little bit, but this is sustained effort, which you never do during the races. If you are racing, even on cycling, if it's a crit racing, it's never going to be like that. If it's mountain biking, it is far from what you're doing during your FTP test or during just sustained ride on the road. That's why the FTP doesn't really tell you much about your overall fitness level. What it tells you is how good you would be on the time trial effort, because this is time trial. So for people who train for Ironman, triathlon, time trial, so riding against the clock, they focus on FTP so much, and then of course they will post those info on Instagram, on social media, on YouTube and everywhere, and then all of us are asking, okay, so what's your FTP? Okay, I'm gonna hit that FTP, but I'm a mountain biker. What I have to do during the race, during the cross-country race, is that I have to start hard, almost like sprinting, fighting for the best position. Then I need to go all out on the uphill, and that would take me, let's say, 2 minutes. Then I'm going down without pedaling on the technical terrain, which will take me 30 seconds. Then I'm going on this very, very steep climb for 3 minutes. Then I'm going down, then up and down, up and down. FTP doesn't really tell you much. So, okay, I'm not gonna ridicule FTP because it tells you something, as I said. So the FTP is your aerobic engine. The bigger the engine is, the better. But last year, when I started focusing on what I really needed for cross-country racing or MTB marathons, I started to climb better, and I was just riding better. I was a better rider. Last year, my goal was to be top 10 in the masters category in the nationals, and I was 10th, which I was so happy about. but my FTP at that time dropped by about 15 watts, 1.5, which is a lot. My maximum FTP measured so far was, I think, 285 on January or December last year or January this year. We are in 2019 right now. I measured 271. I've been only training zone 2 for many months, and this test you're just seeing right now was 249. It was very, very low. Why was it low? That's another interesting thought, and here it is. The level at which you can ride on the test, on the training, on the race is the sum of many factors. Here is my riding buddy. He was just riding ahead of me. Now he will cheer for me. Go Danny, go, go Danny, go. And I'm just dying here. 9 minutes left. So what I've learned, you know what I've learned here? Not only here, but during my races, I've learned that it's not only your fitness level that's stopping you from riding faster. It's also the, let's say, uncomfortable seat, plus you've been drinking too little, plus you were too tired after last trainings, or you were not training enough, plus your back is hurting, and any other things. Here on this test, it was a headwind. It was very uncomfortable. It didn't allow me to push my pedals with it wasn't a sustained effort. You can see I was up to 300 watts, down to 230 to 250. It shouldn't be like that. If this was the test made, you see, it's 225, 290, 260. The headwind was super strong. That was the factor that didn't allow me to use my aerobic engine to its full capacity. So I wasn't unable to really do the best effort, and I'm 100% sure my FTP was not 249. It should be just between 260 and 270. But yeah, it's much more than I showed here. I'm gonna be doing this test once again on the Turbo Trainer very soon without much training, and you will see how much I will go up. So why FTP can be a rubbish? Number one, you will almost never be able to ride at your FTP level for 1 hour. That's one thing. Second thing, it only measures one, maybe not little, this is the foundation, but this still one side of your fitness. The other sides are how powerful you are, what is your technique, pedaling technique, what is your pedaling technique on the uphills. It's different, it's completely different. What's your core strength? If you don't have core strength, you're unable to stabilize your pelvis. And how much power you can put out into the pedals. You can only put out as much as you're able to stabilize with your back, so to speak. To make a long story short, right? So just simplifying it. You need to have strong back, strong core muscles in order to stabilize your pelvis while you are pushing the pedals. So there is many factors you should take into consideration. And so yes, it is a good idea to measure your FTP every 6 weeks. Some say 6 to 8 weeks. I would measure my FTP every 4 weeks, only during the foundation and like the base miles training. And after that, you need to do other stuff. You need to train in your natural environment. So if you're a crit racer, you need to do those surges. You need to be able to go like on the threshold or just below the threshold and do over under. So go over the threshold, like hitting the corner and then sprinting out from the corner, and then stabilizing your power at your threshold, and then again accelerating and going back to the threshold. This is over under. And for mountain bikers, that's mostly climbing. That's mostly climbing. You have to be very good on climbing, and FTP won't be very helpful here. So that's one thing. And second thing, during the preparation and of course during the period when you specialized for some event, you need to do the power profile. It's already very well known, but it's becoming more and more recognized by the amateur riders as myself. You need to know what is your, let's say, 10 seconds power, 30 seconds power, 2 minutes power, and then FTP of course is great, but the profile will tell you how good will you be during the sprint, how well will you climb. You need to know what's the strength. I mean, strength of your muscles and of your core, especially for mountain bikers, is very, very important. And as I could see from this test you are seeing right now on the screen, guys, minimize all the discomforts, because those discomforts will add up. And they will slow you down, and then you think, okay, this is my fitness level. No, maybe you are always higher than you think because of some discomforts you've got. Maybe you've got some pain in your Achilles. Maybe you need to do some more stretching. All of us need to do more stretching. We stretch too little if we train that much, right? Maybe the core strength is crucial, is very, very, very crucial. You need to learn how to hydrate, how to eat, because that could be also one of your discomforts. And here you see this wind was, as I said, on one side it was just pushing my watts up and down, up and down, up and down, and on the other side it was very, very discomfortable and uncomfortable for me mentally, which would also slow us down. So these are the thoughts, guys. FTP, functional threshold power, will show you what is your ability to go at to do the sustained effort, how many watts you can push. You can of course measure watts per kilograms, which are important when you are climbing, because the steeper the climb is, the more the weight of your body and your bike will also be a part of your speed, actual speed and performance. That is important, but do your profile and minimize all the discomforts, and then you can really be faster. So comparing FTP is great. Like my very simple goal is to go over 300 watts of my FTP. Once I do that, I know I have a very well built, structured aerobic engine, and then I will work not only on the anaerobic engine but also just on the specific things I need to be good at. Technically, I need to know what's the best cadence, feel it. I need to choose the right sprockets for different tracks I'm racing on my mountain bike. So these are all very, very important factors. Don't just focus on FTP. So don't think somebody's FTP is lower or higher and you are better or worse than him or her. It's just one side of your fitness. Alright? If you want to measure something like your FTP, you can also do FT speed. Meaning if you don't have power meter, if you don't have a heart rate monitor, just do your average speed for 20 minutes, and let's say, and that could be even, you don't even have to take 5% off that amount. You just can have it like 28 kilometers per hour. That's your maximum average speed for 20 minutes, and just work on it. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's gonna be probably 29 then 30, and between 30 and 28 kilometers per hour, there is a huge difference in that. So you can also do it like that. You don't have to have very advanced tools for that. But this is what I wanted to tell you guys here. It's important to know how good you are. My test is done. Tell me, what's your FTP?